Alright, hey everybody, General Scar here, and today I'm going to be going over just a quick guide for using WorldEdit, Minecraft multiplayer plugin that you can use. I'm not going to go over how to install it or anything like that. It's fairly simple. It's as easy as installing other plugins in your server. Make sure you have your proper permissions set up and stuff like that. I'll have a link in the description to all of the commands, like the documentation and like a wiki that has a list of commands and some explanations for what they do. So go check those out for the commands. There's a lot of them that I'm not going over in this video. I'm just going over a few basic ones that I use a lot that I find very helpful, so you can quickly get started using this, and then you can sort of find the other commands as you need them. So let's just get started. So first we're going to place a few blocks here. Let's just place some grass blocks, and we're going to make a nice little region for our selection tests. Alright, so first of all, if you want any sort of information on the commands and stuff while you're in Minecraft and not going to the wiki, you can type in WorldEdit help, and it'll have a list of all of the commands that you can use. Then you can also do WorldEdit help and then the name of the command, so let's say brush, and it will give you information about that command specifically. So if you don't want to go digging through the wiki or anything like that, you can just do it in game. But to start off, we're going to be using //wand, and this will give us a wooden axe, and this is our selection wand that we're going to be using for any sort of selection that we're going to make with WorldEdit. Now, any of the WorldEdit commands that I'm going to be using will be starting off with //, and because that's sort of hard to say, I'm just going to say the name of the command, and you can assume that it starts with //. You can see me type it out, so hopefully you'll be able to figure it out. We're going to start by making a selection. By default, it makes a cuboid selection, which means it takes 1 point and another point, and basically makes a box around where those points are. And anything inside of that box is your selection. So to make a selection, you left click to set your first point, and you right click to set your second point. And you can see in the chat box it tells you that the positions have been set. So now, while you have a selection, you can do a bunch of stuff with it. So we're just going to use the command that I probably use the most, which is set, and this will just basically replace your selection with a specific kind of block. So we'll just use stone, why not, just to show it off. So you can see from here to here, which was our selection, it created a solid block of stone. Very helpful. So we can also do the very useful undo command. So you can just undo anything you did in the inevitable event that you messed something up, because you're trying to figure out what the commands do. So don't be afraid to try stuff out, because you can just undo it right away and it's not going to break anything. So with the set command, we could also do just sort of walls, which is very helpful. So if we set them in a sort of one-dimensional instead of, or I guess it's a two-dimensional instead of a three-dimensional selection, we can do set, we'll just do stone again, and we make a nice little wall, which is very helpful. Alright, but a lot of the times you're building a wall, you want to, maybe have supports or something, just an outline shape of your wall, and you want to replace the stuff in between with certain things. Well, setting every individual, section and then setting them to the specific blocks can take a while. So what you can do instead is use the replace command. So we're going to make our selection here, and we're going to type //replace. And what this lets us do is select a block that we want to replace, and then a block we want to replace it with. So for this instance, we want to replace air, which is the empty spaces. If it's empty, it's air. And we also want to, we'll just replace it with stone bricks. Make it look all nice. Look at that, I replaced all the air with stone bricks, but you notice, oh look at this, there was some grass tufts in the way, so it didn't completely, replace it how we wanted it to, which in this instance isn't such a big deal, because we can just block them, place the blocks manually, but sometimes it can be a pain. So what can we do for that? Well, let's undo this, and let's go back to our replace command, and instead of typing the block we want to replace, we can type in the blocks that we don't want to replace. So we put an exclamation point in front of a block. That means we want to replace everything except this block. And you can do this with multiple blocks as well. So if you put a block, so let's say like spruce log, and then comma, and then another block, it will any block that you put after the comma, and you can have as many of these in a chain as you want, it won't replace those, or it will replace those if you have it without the exclamation point. But for this, we just want to not replace spruce logs, we want to replace everything except for spruce logs, and we'll replace them with stone bricks. And so you can see those little grass tufts we had are gone, and it's all stone bricks. Very useful. Alright, another quick easy way to make walls, if we just select 2 points, and we type //walls, and the block we want to make a wall out of it will just take our cuboid selection, our box, and just put walls around it. Very useful, very quick if you just need to make quick boxes for your walls. So next we're going to talk about the move command. The move command lets you take a selection of blocks and move it a certain amount of spaces in the direction that you're facing. So we'll just say 5. And as you can see, we've taken what we had selected and moved it 5 blocks this way. Or we can look up and move it 3 blocks up. Look at that. So very easy to, if your build just happens to be offset by 1 block, which happens quite frequently for me at least, you can just select what you want to do it and then move it 1 block in some direction. You can also specify specifically what direction you want, like north, south, east, west, up, or down. But I find just looking in the direction and putting the number is a lot easier. Okay, so we can also stack blocks, and what this does is somewhat similar to the move command, except that it will basically take our selection and duplicate it a number of times in the direction that we're facing. So if we want to extend this wall, for example, we selected this point and this point as our second, so our selection is this wall, and we can look in the direction we want it to go and type stack and how many times we want it to stack. So as you can see, we did it once and it sort of duplicated that. We're going to undo it. And we can stack 5 times, for example, and it'll go 5 out. Now this goes out from your original selection, so let's undo this again and type stack 1. And if we type stack 2, it's not going to add 2 more stacks to it, it's going to stack twice from our original selection. So in this case, it just added an extra wall. So that is an important thing to note. And it is based on the size of the selection, so since we have a 1 block thin, if we have it stacked this way, it'll just put it right up next to it. Alright, so we have copy, cut, and paste commands. Fairly simple. They should be pretty self-explanatory what they do. Important to note, when you copy or cut something, it's going to be based relative to the position of you and the selection. What this means is that I'm standing in front of these logs here. When I copy it, if I move it and I paste it over here, I will again be standing in front of these these spruce logs. Now this is based on your position, not your direction at all. So if I'm looking in this way and I hit paste, it's still going to paste it over here. So while you have something copied, you can use the rotate command, and this will rotate it a number of degrees that you input into it. Usually, I think it's like locked to 45s, but usually 90 degrees are better. So 90, 180, 270 maybe, whatever that one is, and then 360, which wouldn't really do anything, but we're just going to rotate this 90 degrees and we're going to paste it, and you can see that it is now rotated, and where it rotates is sort of where you were standing. So it was here is where the oak log was, but then it rotated around me, so now it's over here, and if I rotate it again, if I stand here, it'll rotate boop over to here. Alright, there's also the flip command. So if we take a selection and copy it, we can sort of flip our copied selection to sort of mirror it. So actually, let's like put a thing here so we can show this off. So we're going to copy it. I'm going to look in the direction. This part's a bit finicky, which way you need to look. Sort of depends on what you're building, but I'm going to look in this way here, and I'm going to type flip and paste. And as you can see, it decided to do it over there. Let's see, undo. Let's try this again. This, that. We're gonna stand. It's based on where you're standing when you copy it, so that's also important to remember. So flip, and then paste. There, because I was a little offset. So as you can see, it mirrored it. Just keep track of where you're standing when you copy it, and sort of you might need to experiment which direction you need to flip it in. Alright, there's one more command or set of commands that I sort of want to show, and then I think that's going to be it for this video. This is all the basic stuff that I use. You can find all the other commands and stuff in the description, but we're going to be using a different sort of selection mode for our axe. Instead of using the cuboid, we're going to be using a region select, or a polygon select, I'm sorry. So we're going to make a shape that's not exactly square, but we still want to maybe like put walls around or something. So we'll do like this. So if we type / cell, and then the type of selection that we want to do, in this case, we want to do a poly or polyhedron, and then we can left click to set our first point, and then right click to add extra points to anything we want to do. And now if we do our command like wall, we can do walls, stone, and it'll make a selection a wall around our selection of the polygon. This is not a great shape. Most of it's still a cube, but hopefully you get the idea that you can sort of make a more organic shape, or just whatever shape you need, and it will, you can still do stuff. So you can like set in this area, so like set stone, it'll fill in the area. You can do walls, you can move, copy, paste, all that stuff if you need to. To go back to the other selection, you can just type cell again and do cuboid, and that will go back to the default sort of selection for this. So I hope this has been helpful. There's a link to a bunch of other commands and stuff. There's like a ton of other stuff I didn't cover, tools and brushes that can be very helpful. In the description, you can check those out in the documentation or like the wiki page, whichever one you want to go to. So yeah, hopefully this has helped you out. Have fun making stuff with your cool new tools.